Back, fight fans, to another episode of Bourbon and Boxing. I am your host, Jeff Bolts, and this is a special edition, episode 7, National Women's Day. Should be National Women's Week. Even if I'm a little early, this is just much due respect to women out there who are the starters of life and all that other stuff that they do to take care of their homes and what they do on an everyday basis. First woman I want to give a shout out to, of course, is my wife, Ariel. And just to thank you for all the hard work you do, taking care of our kids, working hard at your job, and also, taking care of me, your man. Can't thank you enough for everything you do. And like I said, this is National Women's Day. Today's episode, we're going to talk about female boxers and female boxers only. That's why we'll call this episode 7, National Women's Day. Like I said, it's just not my wife, it's women all around the world. And what they do for mankind, what they do for this earth, the care that they have, and the sympathy that they show when in times of need. But let's get it started with a nice little shot, man. Once again, thank you, all the women out there, all the mothers, all women, period, for everything you do, for everything you went through to fight for your rights that you have now, to have a voice and be part of this earth and be respected in the way that you should be and considered an equal to all men on this earth, man. Thank you so much. And here's a shot to you, man. Let me lower my camera a little bit. It seems too high. There we go. Seems like it was up a little bit too high, but I adjusted that. I failed this week as a boxing fan and a huge Amanda Serrano fan. Uh, by absolutely, I didn't talk about her fight Saturday because I don't really watch the Jake Paul fights. Definitely didn't want to pay $55 to pay per view that fight. If it would have been free, I might have tuned in. But I'm not gonna. I paid 65 for the Crawford fight, so I think it was at $65 for the Crawford fight. Now that was a big superstar type of fight, so it definitely that was worth it. But because of that, I completely missed the Amanda Serrano fight. Forgot that she is with Jake Paul and she's on usually fights on the undercards of most of his fights. So I did miss that fight, but luckily I had the zone and I was able to go back and watch the highlights. And she looked like she put on what Amanda normally does. Puts on a clinic. Now, was her opponent up to her skill level? Kind of older fighter. She had dominated this girl in the last fight. God, just watching, I can't remember her name. That's the sad part. But like I said, she looked really good, man. And of course, we all want to see her and Katie Taylor fight once again, at least one more time. I really thought that fight was going to happen a lot sooner. Like, man, you know, that year before the end of the year, or not in the beginning of next year, 2023, that would be a fight that just had to be made, and it had to happen sooner than later. But it turned out that when it was about to be scheduled, Amanda Serrano had a little bit of issues. It was said that it was her wrist, but then it came out that it was PEDs. I haven't heard any further on it or what what she might have failed for, what the outcome. I mean, maybe she proved her innocence because she fought not long after that. So maybe she had proven her innocence. I didn't really read much into it. There wasn't a lot of reports on it. It was kind of kept quiet under the table type of thing. Uh, so we didn't get the opportunity to find out what was going on there. But glad to see her back in the ring, man. She looked like her old self. She was out there putting on a clinic. Uh, the women's boxing division right now, guys, and for women out there who may not be fans of boxing, uh, these women are putting on shows. So if you ever want to get into boxing as a female, as far as just maybe just becoming a fan and watching it, right now is the time. These women are more athletic than I've ever seen in my life. A lot of them fight like men. They have absolutely great technical skills. A lot of them do, and this is the best era of women's boxing. Seem to have somebody new coming up all the time with a lot of talent. And of course, for the women, it's a lot harder for them to get their name out there. So it may take twice as long for somebody coming in, starting to make a name for themselves with women's boxing because it's still not on the map of the world. A lot of people still don't give it much attention, don't really accept it. It's no different than women MMA. Uh, women have the right to compete, in any sport that they want to compete in. So, with that being said, man, I mean, just the talent level of females boxing right now, I mean, it's just way above. I mean, you know, I guess you'd give, you know, the women in the history, Ann Wolf and Layla Ali, and I want to say Christy Marks, credit for being some of the first to really go out there and put female boxing on the map. But after them, it fell off again. Because there was no one of interest that nobody wanted to see or nobody that was standing out. And then Clarissa Shields came along, kind of brought the attention back. Once again, and then coming up with her was Savannah Marshall, and then around that time, around Amanda Serrano's coming out, Katie Taylor. So female boxing really started to hit its stride. And then it was, I want to say maybe 4 years ago. I'd give it a good 4 years ago, in my opinion, that I really thought that at the talent level, it started getting more exposure. And maybe that's what it was, is that it wasn't getting the exposure that it was previously. Like, it wasn't getting that exposure in the past because there wasn't an audience for it. And of course, networks aren't going to want to carry something that can't carry itself. So we watched it kind of fall to the wayside, and then now it's getting a lot more attention between Top Rank and the Zone, and I haven't seen a whole lot from Showtime with the women's cards and stuff like that. Not as big as I feel like Top Rank and the Zone with the fighters that they have, and so I mean, and like I said, Clarissa Shields, she's considered the GOAT, female GOAT, as she calls herself, greatest woman of all time. And if you're a female and you really want to get into sports, just go watch them, man. You'll be pretty impressed with what you watch, especially, I know a lot of women aren't into combat sports and stuff like that, so it's just something that doesn't appeal to them. But, if you want to support these women, man, give it a try, watch it, and I'm telling you, you'll be highly impressed with how tough these women are. They're gladiators. They're putting on just as good a show as the men and women are. The Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano fight was probably one of the best atmospheres I've ever seen for a fight, and possibly one of my top fights all time in boxing history. They banged it out from the first round to the 10th round, and they fought their hearts out. The crowd was like a split crowd. It was up in New York, Madison Square Garden, I think it was. And one side is the Puerto Ricans, and the other side were the Irish. And man, the crowd was electrifying. It made that fight even bigger. Made it, man, it was something special. My youngest daughter, who is a boxing fan, Adrian, of course, she sat down and she watched it with me. She was a big Katie Taylor fan, and she just absolutely was like, wow, this is, I think she was 5 years old at the time, and she was just wowed by it. She couldn't believe the crowd, and oh my God, this is women's boxing, and I'm like, yeah, this is women's boxing, man. And then from there, that kind of set up the Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall fight from the Olympics, when Savannah Marshall had gotten a decision over Clarissa Shields in the might have been the amateurs or the Olympics, one of the two, where she got the decision. So it was pretty much like the only loss Clarissa Shields ever had in her life. So she wanted to go fight Savannah Marshall, and that was a big blockbuster fight. And what I loved about it is, before the Katie Taylor Serrano fight, no women had ever been the main card on any boxing main event. They were always the co-main event at the best, and then trickled down from there. But Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano showed the world that two women could sell out, and they could bring the attention, and they could sell the tickets big time. Now, with the Savannah Marshall and Clarissa Shields fight, that happened over in the UK where I knew the tickets were going to sell. Savannah Marshall had a pretty big name over there. In the UK, they seem to pay a little bit more attention to women's boxing than in the States over here, where they actually support their women fighters. So I knew those tickets were going to sell, but I was more impressed with how they made it an all female card, if I'm correct. It was the first time ever it was an all female card. It wasn't just, you know, a mixture of men and women. It was an all female card with with the main event being Marshall versus Shields. Of course, that was a good fight, but Clarissa showed why she was the best in boxing. I don't know what it is, man, but this redemption gives me the bourbon burps. Apologize for that. But anyways, man, that fight gave us, kind of established that Clarissa was the best in the game. Savannah wasn't far behind her. You had, I mean, and then that just kind of jump started big fight after big fight for the females. And then you got a little bit more exposure with girls like Ebony Bridges out of Australia, who shows a lot of skills, but I haven't seen her in a while. Uh, what is it? Jessica uh, Saunders out of England, who I watched a few times, and she's a good young up and coming female fighter. You get to give a shout out. You got Anista Estrada, Jessica Mascal, Michelle Mayer, my favorite, Alicia Boomgardner. That's my favorite female fighter as current, Alicia Boomgardner. Now, her and Amanda Serrano, that's a fight that's got to be made. I'm not kidding. Those two right there, that would be a hell of a fight because, like I said, I want to see, of course, Serrano versus Katie Taylor again. But Katie's just recently took a loss, her first career loss to Cameron, Chantel Cameron, who I'll give a shout out to, man. Chantel Cameron, nice big tough fighter. Her a lot bigger than Taylor. I don't think the outcome. They've signed on to fight again in November, so that pretty much derails the Serrano fight again for the rest of this year. I don't see that one happening because Katie is dead set, kind of like Canelo. She's dead set. She got that loss. She wants to revenge it. I don't see any different outcome, man. I feel like Chantel Cameron is too big for Katie and has the defensive and boxing ability to keep her at bay and get away from those barrages of punches that Katie Taylor is going to bring to the table. Her technique, and she's got enough length to keep her at bay to where she can't really come inside without being hit with big shots. So it's too much of a risk again for Katie Taylor. I don't want to see her retake that fight. I'd rather see her go ahead and take that L and say and learn from it. Really say, all right, that's not my weight division. I don't need to be up there against them bigger fighters who have that type of skill level that Chantel Cameron has because they're just going to be able to keep me at bay and then taking those big shots like she took. Chantel was definitely the bigger puncher in that fight, landed the cleaner punches, all that kind of stuff. So I don't really think there's a different outcome for Katie, and that's no disrespect to Katie Taylor because she's a hell of a fighter, and I know she's going to go in, she's going to make adjustments, and she's going to try to figure out how she can get inside on Chantel. But I just don't think there's a real answer for it because Chantel establishes a great jab and then knows how to set up those power punches, big lefts, big left hook, big right hook when you come inside. And those punches hurt smaller fighters like Katie Taylor. So, like I said, it derails the Serrano fight, though, and I would have loved to see Katie go after Serrano again and just kind of take that loss on the chin and move on from it because now I think she's going to end in November with 2 losses, which is going to take a little steam away from the Amanda Serrano fight. Katie's not losing her belts because she's not putting her belts on the line going up to that one. But so her belts will still be on the line, so there'll still be some significance to the fight. But I think it will take a little bit of steam out of it if she's got 2 losses under her belt at this point because everybody wanted to kind of see Amanda to be the first one to beat her. But now since I think that's happening, Chantel and Taylor are going to fight in November. Now I think it's a perfect time to set up Alicia Boomgardner and Amanda Serrano to fight next. I mean, I think that's a big blockbuster fight, especially here in the States, man, because Alicia is definitely building a name for herself. Really impressed with her. I watched her last fight. She looked really good. Her skill level, her footwork looked really great against Michaela Mayer, who's one of the top female fighters out there. Fought a really great fight against her. Wouldn't mind seeing those two fight again. Mayer and Baumgartner too would be nice to see. But I mean, there's some good fights to be made out there for the females. Who's next for Clarissa Shields? That's a big question. Because she seems to have established her dominance. Her last fight, she got a home fight, and she completely dominated the girl. She was not on her level. I want to say the girl's last name was Gonzalez, but she just wasn't on her level, and that's what sucks for Shields is that she's just on a different level right now. Francis De La Cruz, she took a loss against Savannah Marshall. Now, I guess that's what would be next. The only fight next for Clarissa Shields would be to bring Savannah Marshall over here to the States and try to make a big fight here in the U.S. with Savannah Marshall, even though I think the tickets are going to sell better in the UK. I think Clarissa, being the A side, deserves to be the one fighting at home and bringing Savannah to her because she went to Savannah's house the first fight. So maybe, yeah, Savannah comes over to her home this time and those two bang it out. I have been hearing somebody was calling out Estrada. I can't think of who it was, but Estrada, of course, looks good. Jessica Mascal always looks good. Uh, you know, the of course I talked about Serrano. There's so many of these great female fighters out there that I'm sure I'm missing out on. But if you get into it, man, you're gonna see that it's a stable field of just amazing female fighters right now. The best time for women's fighting, man. And on National Women's Day, I felt obligated to get on here and give these ladies a shout out, man, for what you are doing out there in the boxing world. If I failed to say your name, I apologize, man. Let me try to go down my list here of the women that I originally had that I wouldn't mind giving a shout out to without it messing up my podcast because sometimes I hit the wrong button and then I'll end up stop recording and I don't want to do that. So yeah, let's see if we can't give them out. Of course, we talked about Clarissa Shields, Jessica Mascal, Delphine Person, Sinista Estrada, Natasha Jones, Francis Cruz DeZern. We're going over, of course, we talked about Katie Taylor, Salisa Brookhouse, Christina Hammer, Chantel Cameron, of course, Alicia Baumgartner. We gave her a shout out. Longtime veteran Terry Harper had a good comeback fight after being viciously knocked out by Baumgartner. She's had a good last couple fights. We talked about Savannah Marshall, and pretty much those are the top ones in the sport of boxing, females right now. So there are a lot of good fights that can happen, man. The fights, like I said, I'd love to see Serrano, Katie Taylor too. I think that has to happen sooner than later. The longer they wait on that, the harder it is. People are going to forget about that fight if they wait too long. And you don't want people to forget about it. You want to keep it fresh on the mind. That's why I thought they should have ran it back immediately because it was so fresh on everybody's mind, and it was the thing at the moment. You know what I mean? It was the fight that everybody wanted to see again. We had to see it again because it was a question. Did Serrano beat Katie? Katie got the decision, but you could have argued that, hey, that could have went Amanda Serrano's way. It was such a 50-50 fight that I thought, man, they definitely missed that opportunity, that window they had to build even more on this fight for a part two. So let's hope they don't wait too long and we get Katie Taylor and Serrano sooner than later. But we are going to get Katie Taylor and Cameron too, which I think is the same pretty much outcome. I'm pretty sure we're going to get Savannah Marshall and Clarissa Shields too sooner than later, probably into the new year. And, and like I said, if you're Serrano, if you're Jake Paul, and you're her promoter right now, the fight to go after for your girl has got to be Alicia Baumgartner. You're going to sell tickets. I promise you that. Because every boxing fan is going to come out and you're going to draw a lot of casuals, a lot of attention to the sport. And I don't want it to be a co-main event. It's got to be a main event, man. That fight has to be a main event. I think Jake Paul take a back seat and just let Amanda Serrano shine like she did in the Katie Taylor fight and promote that fight because I think Jake Paul can be an amazing promoter for boxing. And I think he could bring a lot of good to boxing as far as promoting. Nothing against him in the ring, but he's got just too many flaws that I see that I don't think he would ever be a champion. Maybe he proves me wrong. And, he makes me eat my words. But I just don't think he'll ever evolve into boxing to be a big time champion because when he gets into boxing, he's not going to be able to fight a guy at 140 pounds, 150 pounds when he's 175, 180. They're just not going to allow that. There's weight classes for a reason. And when he jumps fully into boxing and he decides to fight, and if he fights at 175, that's a cruiserweight. And if I think he's smart, he would drop down to 160. There's not a lot of people in the 160 division. And I know that's a significant drop for him from 175 to 160, but he doesn't want any part of 168. I pretty much think he would get dominated by anybody in the top 10 of 168. He's going to get dominated by anybody in the top 20 in the cruiserweight 175 division. So if he dropped down to 160, which I think is like light middleweight, some shit like that. If he dropped down to that weight class, then it's an open door. There's really no talent in that division. Nobody stands out at 160 right now for Jake Paul that I think he would have problems with, or it would just be a good place to get your footing at if you really wanted to open a door to being a boxer. But hey, you know what? He's out here making that money by just putting on the fights that he's putting on. A lot more than a lot of these boxers out here who are doing it for a career. So why, if it's not broke, why fix it? But anyways, with him being the promoter of Serrano, I think it's a great opportunity for him to take that opportunity to get Serrano that big fight, another big fight against Alicia Baumgardner, get both of them a nice payday under their belts because they both deserve it, and the boxing world definitely deserves that fight to happen. So, I mean, like I said, it is National Women's Day, man, and I couldn't help myself but just to do a small little special episode on episode 7 for women, where we're just going to give a shout out to all these ladies, man, for out here being warriors, out here training, putting the time into the gym, and being just the best generation of boxing that boxing's ever had. And I think it's only going to continue to grow for the women, and we're only going to continue to see greater and better talent coming up, and we're going to see these females getting better and better and better. Like I said, with some of the talent, I know when you watch these ladies, you're like I said, if you haven't, give it a shot, dude. You're not going to be disappointed when I tell you, female boxing is not going to disappoint you. It's these women bang out. They have the talent. They have the footwork. They have the hand speed. They are talented, man. So give it a shot. And if you're a female and you want to kind of get into boxing a little bit, the time is now for sure to go out there and support these other women out there, these warriors, and maybe make your little girl the next Estrada, the next Shields, the next Serrano, Baumgardner. That's what I'm hoping to make my little girl. She's 6 years old, and she loves to fight. She loves to practice boxing, and I'm hoping she is going to be my fighter. I got 4 kids, and I always thought my youngest boy's 2, so he's still got time to grow into it. But my 6-year-old is the one that loves the sport, loves to fight. She's frisky. She knows how to throw them hands. I tell her to get in her stance. She knows how to do it. Works on her footwork. And just, she's a rambunctious little one, man. I don't know how long she'll continue to enjoy doing that. And, of course, I would never force my kids into doing something they don't want to do or they're not comfortable with. But, as fathers, we have hopes for our little ones, especially our young women who make us respect women even more. It all starts with your mother. And that's a fact, man. My mom taught me to respect women to the fullest. And, you always give respect and receive respect. But, she taught me a lot about a strong woman, an independent woman. My mother was all those things, man. She was a hard worker, and she put the time into her kids, man, educating us and giving us life lessons. She prepared us more for the street life in general, and having common sense and all that kind of stuff, man. It was my mom who guided me in every aspect of life, man. Was always there for me to talk to and be there for. She's no longer with me, rest in heaven, mama. But, like I'm saying, it all starts with your mother. So all you men out there who might be watching this episode too, Respect your wife, respect your daughter, respect your mother, your grandmother, because it all starts there, man. That's how you earn respect. That's how you build respect. When it starts with the person you should respect the most, your mother. And when you have that respect for your mother, you're going to carry that respect throughout your life for other people, man. Women are amazing. And like I said, we can't celebrate you ladies enough for everything you've done, the hard work you've done to keep men upright. When we're falling down, you're there to catch us. And we can't thank you enough for that. And, you fought for a long time for a voice in this world. And you guys keep growing every year, man. You keep getting there where you're representing yourselves better and better each year, and you definitely have my respect. Like I said, happy National Women's Day. Let's end this, man, with a shot to these women who deserve all the respect, man, in these absolutely incredible era of women's boxing. I cannot say enough about it, man. It's so impressive to have watched it grown. The way it keeps growing, and to be there for it, to be able to witness this, man, it's definitely a special time, and it's a great time to be part of women's boxing. It really is. Doesn't get any better, in my opinion, and I think it will get better. It's going to grow and grow, and we'll see that. But once again, man, happy National Women's Day from Bourbon and Boxing. I'm your host, Jeff. This is episode 7, National Women's Day. Thank all you women for everything you do out there. To all the female fighters, a shout out to you ladies for doing what you're doing right now. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing amazing things, man. And I'm proud to be part of it, proud to be seeing it, and proud to be able to talk about you ladies, man. Thank you so much for joining in to another episode of Bourbon and Boxing. And you guys have yourself a great day, man.